In a harsh war-torn world, a strange human prisoner arrives, treated with cruelty and mockery by alien guards. But the prisoner is no ordinary captive, he holds a secret power and importance that shocks even the fiercest warriors. As a supreme alien commander kneels before him, the truth about loyalty, courage, and hope unfolds. The story is intense and emotional, filled with suspense, unexpected respect, and a desperate fight to save a loved one amid the dangers of war. The cold stone corridor echoed with heavy boots and harsh voices. Imauve and Lavore, two armored alien guards, dragged the prisoner through the twisting halls of Asteria's military prison. Between them shuffled a human, pale, naked of fur, and unlike anything they had seen before. His hands were shackled tightly, preventing him from steadying himself as he stumbled forward. Imauve glanced at the human with a mix of disgust and curiosity. "What kind of creature is this?" he muttered. "No fur. Looks like a newborn, but big. He calls himself human." Lavore sneered, striking the back of the prisoner's head with a rough, furred hand. The human staggered but said nothing. "I don't even know if it's male or female," Lavore said, lips curling with disdain. "But I refuse to believe a female could be this ugly." The human's voice, low and steady, broke the tension. "I thought the same about you." Both guards froze, surprised by his calmness. The human's tone was not weak or fearful. It was dark and full of quiet amusement. Imauve laughed deep in his throat. "You insult us. You have no place here." Lavore smacked the human's head again, harder this time. "Watch your tongue, or you will regret it." The prisoner remained silent after that, his face unreadable. The guards finally reached a small, bare cell. The heavy keys jangled before the door swung open. Lavore pushed the human inside. He stumbled on the cold floor but rose quickly, meeting Imauve's eyes. "Is this how your species treats visitors?" he asked. Imauve scoffed. "Visitor? You're a captured spy, nothing more." The human smiled, calm and knowing. "I'm more than a visitor. I'm waiting for your general. I wonder what will happen when he arrives and sees how you treated me." Imauve's laughter stopped. A cold thought chilled his spine. The human's words felt like a warning. The prisoner's briefcase, strange and locked tight, was now in the hands of the engineers. What was inside? Imauve didn't know, but it was the reason the human was here, in this death-world prison. The guards stood watch, uneasy, while the prisoner sat silently on the cold floor. Minutes passed with tense silence, broken only by Lavore's occasional crude jokes. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the corridor, heavy, confident, powerful. Imauve's ears twitched. This was no ordinary soldier. The figure approached fast, boots striking the floor with authority. It was General Bryax, the fierce warrior who had won the Battle of Trafar with a crippled army. His face bore a jagged scar beneath one eye, and his eyes burned with yellow fire. The guards stiffened. The general stopped just steps from the cell. His eyes locked on the prisoner. Then, to their shock, General Bryax dropped to one knee. His head bowed low. "Lord Healer," he whispered, voice thick with respect. "I had no knowledge you would arrive a day early. These subordinates dishonored us all with their treatment of you." Imauve's blood ran cold. The creature they had mocked, beaten, and locked away was someone so important that the Supreme Commander himself bowed to him. The prisoner smiled, amused. "Lord Healer," he repeated, shaking his head. "Those two calling me ugly was less uncomfortable than that title." The general's head snapped up in fury. "They did what?" His roar echoed through the halls like thunder. The guards took a step back, claws extending. "You were uncooperative and guarded your briefcase fiercely," Lavore stammered. "We thought you were a spy." The general's gaze pierced through them. "I don't want excuses." He turned to the prisoner with deep respect. "Lord Healer, say the word, and I will have those who wronged you punished." Imov collapsed to the floor, shaking. His life was over. Olvor, pale and trembling, dropped to his knees when the general ordered him. The prisoner's calm voice stopped the rage. I am a pacifist. No one needs to die. 2 slaps on the head are enough. The tension eased. The general's eyes softened, but his voice remained stern. Olvor, kneel. Olvor dropped down, cracking his knees, but relief showed on his face. The general then pointed at Imov. And what of you? The prisoner's gaze shifted to Imov, calm and piercing. He joked with me, that's all. I will forgive him if he helps me today. Imov froze, mind racing, trapped in a silent threat. The prisoner stood and said, I need my briefcase. It was taken when I arrived. The general nodded. Take it to my quarters. Do not discuss this with anyone. Imov grabbed the keys with shaking hands and fled down the corridor. His mind swirled. Who was this healer? Why was the general so afraid? 2 hours later, Imov stood before a massive door inside the fortress. Behind it, luxury and power spilled from within, a mansion hidden in the war fortress. He caught his breath and knocked. The door opened to reveal a surprised servant, quickly replaced by professional calm. Inside, General Bryax was pouring steaming liquid into a delicate cup. His massive claws handled it gently, so unlike the fierce warrior known on the battlefield. The prisoner sat comfortably in an armchair, relaxed and smiling. Do you like the flavor? The general asked. The prisoner smiled warmly. There's no need to import coffee from Earth just for me. I'm here to help, not make demands. Imov cleared his throat and held out the briefcase. The general's eyes narrowed. You are late. Imov explained the bureaucratic delays, his voice trembling. The prisoner stood, graceful and calm. We must not delay. Time is critical. The general nodded, but there was a flicker of fear in his eyes. Upstairs, they entered a vast, sterile medical room. Machines hummed quietly. In the center lay a single bed surrounded by monitors and strange devices. The prisoner said, "Open the briefcase." Imov did, revealing strange glowing vials and instruments. The prisoner asked softly, "General, how did she lose her leg and eye?" The general's voice cracked with pain. My daughter was attacked by our enemies. They nearly killed her. Imov's heart pounded. The prisoner nodded solemnly. I can help. I can regenerate her leg and bring her out of the coma, but I cannot restore her eye or brain connections. The general looked down, sadness clear. Saving her life is enough. Thank you for risking so much. The prisoner smiled, tired but determined. Half of humanity is lost in war zones because doctors refuse to come. This is what we do. Imov watched the human prepare tools carefully. This will take time, the prisoner said. Complete silence and no interruptions. Imov realized he was witnessing more than medicine. He saw hope, courage, and a bond crossing species. The days after the first treatment passed slowly, each moment heavy with hope and fear. Imov stayed close, observing the strange human healer with a mix of awe and suspicion. The prisoner, now called Lord Healer, moved with quiet confidence as he worked tirelessly on the injured girl. Her name was Myaza, General Bryax's daughter. She lay still, unconscious, but the machines around her pulsed with life. The wounds on her leg were cruel, the loss clear and raw. The missing eye was a dark hollow, a wound deeper than flesh. Lord Healer's hands were steady as he applied shimmering liquids from his briefcase. His instruments glowed faintly, technology far beyond anything Imov had seen. The air was thick with tension. Even the general, once a fierce warrior feared by many, looked worn and uncertain. I hope this works, Imov whispered one evening. The healer glanced up, his eyes calm and thoughtful. Hope is the first step to healing. But it takes patience, skill, and sometimes, sacrifice. Imov nodded, though he barely understood. What kind of sacrifice could be greater than losing a daughter? Weeks passed. The general rarely left the room. His fierce demeanor softened as he watched over Myaza's slow recovery. The small victories, like the return of a faint pulse or a twitch of a finger, were celebrated quietly but fiercely. One afternoon, Myaza's eyes fluttered open. The room fell silent. The general's jaw tightened with emotion, and even Imov felt a strange warmth in his chest. Myaza blinked slowly, confused. The pain was gone, replaced by numbness and weakness. The leg still missing, the eye absent. "Can you hear me?" Lord Healer asked gently. Myaza nodded faintly. "You're safe now," the healer said. "We will work together to bring you back." The general stepped forward, tears shining in his eyes. "My brave girl," he whispered. Days turned into weeks of hard work. The healer taught Myaza how to move, how to balance on one leg. The general stood nearby, silently offering support and encouragement. Imov watched the change. The general's eyes softened with pride and something more, hope. A father's love shining through the armor of a hardened warrior. One evening, as the healer helped Myaza walk across the room, Imov finally asked the question that had been burning in his mind. "General, aren't you afraid the human healer will take your daughter away? Far from this world?" The general paused, eyes fixed on his daughter. Then he smiled, a rare, gentle smile. "I have paid the healer to take her away," he said quietly. "To search for ways to restore what she has lost. I want her to see the stars, meet other species, find hope beyond these walls." Imov was stunned. The general's voice grew firmer. "I kept her locked away because I was afraid. Afraid to lose her, afraid the war would take her from me. But hiding her was a prison of its own." He looked at the healer. "Thank you for giving her a chance." The healer smiled softly. "It is what we do. I once traveled the galaxy to gather knowledge, not for others, but for myself. I was born missing a leg. I wanted to find a way to fix myself. Now, I help others." Imov realized then that the prisoner they had mocked was a man driven by deep courage and determination. The general's daughter began to regain strength. She learned to walk with steady steps, her remaining eyes shining with fierce pride. The healer was patient and kind, guiding her through each small victory. Imov's fear of the unknown human slowly turned to respect. One night, after a long day of therapy, the healer and Imov stood alone in the hallway. "Why did you come here?" Imov asked quietly. The healer looked up at the stars visible through a narrow window. "To help," he said simply. "Because sometimes, the greatest battles are fought not with weapons, but with hope and healing." Imov nodded, understanding at last that this was no ordinary prisoner. The next morning, an urgent message arrived. The war was stirring again, tensions rising faster than before. The northern enemies were preparing to strike once more. General Bryax paced, worry shadowing his face. "We cannot stay hidden," he said. "The war will come to us. Myaza must be ready." The healer agreed. "She is strong, but the path ahead will be dangerous. We need more than healing. We need allies." Imov felt a surge of determination. He had once mocked the human, but now he stood ready to serve. The group prepared for the coming storm. The healer packed his briefcase, organizing tools and medicines with practiced care. Myaza, standing tall despite her injuries, looked at the general and then at the healer. "I want to fight," she said quietly but firmly. "Not just survive." The general nodded with pride. "You will. And I will stand with you." Imov felt a fierce hope burn inside him. This was more than a prisoner or a patient. This was a fight for life, love, and the future of their world. The fortress trembled under the weight of approaching war. News traveled fast, enemy forces gathered beyond the horizon, ready to strike again. Inside the mansion, the air was thick with tension. General Bryax's proud gaze shifted between his daughter and the healer. The weight of command settled on his broad shoulders once more. Mayaza stood tall despite her missing leg and eye. The healer had rebuilt her strength, but the battle ahead demanded more than physical healing. It required courage, will, and sharp minds. "I want to train," Mayaza said, her voice steady. "To fight alongside you." The general nodded solemnly. "You have the heart of a warrior. We will prepare you." Imov watched, amazed by the transformation. The fragile girl they had seen weeks ago was now a fierce force ready to face the war. The healer smiled quietly, proud of the progress. In the days that followed, training began. Mayaza adapted quickly, learning to move with new agility. The healer introduced strange devices from his briefcase, small, glowing tools that enhanced her balance and strength. The general led drills in strategy and combat. Imov joined as well, eager to prove his loyalty and protect those he once doubted. Late one evening, while the others rested, Imov approached the healer. "How did you learn all this?" "The medicine, the technology." The healer looked up from his workbench, eyes reflecting distant memories. "I traveled to many worlds, learned from countless species. Some gave willingly, others with caution. I sought knowledge to fix myself, but found a greater purpose in helping others." Imov nodded, feeling humbled. But the war was relentless. Scouts reported enemy scouts probing the fortress defenses. The threat was real and growing. One day, as the group trained near the outer walls, alarms blared. Enemy forces were advancing fast. General Bryax's voice boomed, "Prepare for battle. Defend the fortress." Mayaza felt adrenaline surge. Her leg ached but her spirit burned brighter than ever. The healer moved beside her, calm and steady. The battle was brutal. The fortress shook with explosions and gunfire. Enemy ships darkened the sky. Mayaza fought with fierce determination, her new strength pushing her beyond limits. The healer provided aid wherever he could, using his tools to heal wounds quickly and keep fighters moving. Imov found himself in the thick of combat, protecting the general and his daughter. Fear had turned to fierce loyalty. Suddenly, the healer called out, "Mayaza, now." She dodged a powerful strike and lunged forward, using a weapon the healer had crafted, a blade glowing with alien energy. The enemy faltered, their ranks breaking. General Bryax roared in approval, rallying his troops. But the cost was high. Many were wounded. The healer worked feverishly, patching injuries and calming pain. After the battle, silence fell over the fortress. The enemy retreated, but the war was far from over. In the quiet aftermath, the healer sat beside Mayaza. "You did well. You're stronger than I imagined." She smiled weakly. "I couldn't have done it without you." General Bryax joined them, his fierce gaze softened. "You saved my daughter's life twice, once with your medicine, and once with your strength." Imov looked on, awe in his eyes. That night, the group gathered in the general's chambers. Maps and data covered the table, plans laid out to strike back. The healer spoke softly, "To win this war, we need more than weapons. We need allies. Other species, other healers." The general nodded. "We will send envoys. But first, we must secure our home." Mayaza stood tall, determination shining in her eye. "And when the time comes, I will lead our people." Imov felt a surge of pride. The prisoner they had mocked was now their hope. As the stars twinkled beyond the fortress walls, a new chapter began, a fight not just for survival, but for a future worth living. Weeks passed, and the war's shadow grew darker. The fortress was no longer just a shelter, it was a beacon of resistance. General Bryax, Mayaza, the healer, and Imov worked tirelessly to prepare. The strange human's knowledge spread, teaching others to heal wounds that once meant death. Imov found himself changed. The man he once mocked had become a leader, a symbol of hope. The healer's calm courage inspired even the toughest soldiers. One evening, the healer gathered the team. "We cannot win this war by fighting alone. I will travel beyond this world. I will seek allies and bring back knowledge to save more lives." Myaza's gaze was steady. "We will hold the fortress until you return." The general nodded. "Go with our trust. We need you." Imov's heart clenched. "Be careful." The healer smiled softly. "I will." Days later, the healer departed in a small, sleek ship. His journey was dangerous, crossing star systems filled with unknown enemies and strange wonders. He visited distant worlds, meeting alien healers, scientists, and warriors. Each encounter brought new tools, medicines, and hope. Meanwhile, back at the fortress, Myaza led the defense. Her steps were confident, her spirit unbroken. The general stood beside her, proud but worried. Imov watched her grow stronger, harder, more determined with every passing day. Suddenly, the enemy returned, stronger and crueler. Their assault shook the walls, fire and smoke rising into the sky. The defenders fought fiercely, but exhaustion and wounds slowed them. In the heat of battle, Myaza faltered, her old injuries aching fiercely. Imov rushed to her side, fear gripping him. The healer was away, and hope felt fragile. Then, from the sky, the healer's ship appeared. Landing quickly, he rushed inside the fortress with new medicines and devices. His calm presence gave strength to the weary defenders. With his help, the tide turned. The wounded were healed, the fighters renewed. Myaza rose again, ready to lead. The enemy was pushed back, retreating into the dark. In the quiet that followed, the general approached the healer. "You have brought us new hope. You are more than a healer, you are our salvation." The healer smiled humbly. "I only do what I can. Together, we are stronger." Imov watched the bond between them, knowing the war was far from over. But for the first time, he believed in victory. Myaza stood beside the general and the healer, ready to face whatever came next. Her steps were sure, her heart brave. She was no longer a prisoner, but a leader fighting for a future where love and courage could overcome even the darkest wars. The fortress stood battered but unbroken, a symbol of hope against the dark forces that threatened their world. Myaza, General Bryax, Imov, and the healer prepared for the final battle. The war was nearing its peak, and every moment counted. The healer, now more than a prisoner or guest, had become part of their family. His knowledge and courage had saved lives and healed wounds both seen and hidden. But the greatest challenge was still to come. Enemy forces gathered in vast numbers. Their warships darkened the sky like a storm ready to break. The ground trembled beneath the roar of their engines. The time to fight had arrived. Myaza stood tall, her movements confident and sharp despite her injuries. The healer had given her tools and treatments that allowed her to move faster and stronger than anyone expected. The general's fierce eyes burned with pride and determination. "Today, we fight not just for survival," General Bryax said, voice ringing through the hall, "but for the future of our people. For love, for hope, and for peace." Imov nodded, heart pounding. He remembered the first day they mocked the prisoner, now their greatest ally. The battle was fierce and brutal. Explosions shattered the sky. Soldiers clashed with deadly precision. Myaza led her forces with unmatched bravery, wielding the alien blade the healer had given her. The healer worked tirelessly, healing wounds and saving lives amid the chaos. His calm hands and bright tools were like a beacon in the darkness. At one point, Myaza was struck down, her strength fading fast. The healer rushed to her side, his voice soft but urgent. "Hold on, Myaza. You are stronger than this." With careful precision, he applied a shimmering liquid and whispered words of encouragement. Slowly, color returned to her face, and her eyes flickered open. The general fought alongside his daughter, roaring commands and cutting through enemies. Imouv stood firm, protecting their flank. As the battle reached its climax, enemy forces began to retreat. The tide had turned. Exhausted but victorious, the survivors gathered in the fortress. Myaza, supported by the healer, looked out over the horizon. The war was not over, but hope was alive. General Bryax placed a hand on the healer's shoulder. "You have given us more than healing. You have given us a future." The healer smiled, eyes shining. "We all did this together." Imouv felt a deep peace. The prisoner they had mocked was a healer, a leader, and a friend. The general's daughter was more than a survivor, she was a symbol of courage. As the stars shone bright above the war-torn world, they knew the greatest battles were not just fought with weapons, but with hearts united in hope. And so, from the ashes of war, a new dawn rose, one where respect replaced mockery, and courage overcame fear.